Remember that scene from Attack of the Clones when Mace ignited his lightsaber inches from the throat of Jango Fett? What if he did this to Dooku instead, resulting in a duel between these two warriors here in Geonosis? Well, since Mace beat Sidious in episode 3, there's no way he couldn't beat the far less powerful Count Dooku here, right? Right? Well, my theory is that Dooku, as the best duelist in the galaxy, would be the perfect matchup to the Vapad lightsaber form of Mace, making this one of the most interesting matchups out there.
I don't think so.
We'll see.
The first thing I'll focus on in this video is every time we've really seen them go head to head in canon or Legends. In the Legends comic Star Wars Obsessions number 4 from 2004, we see a brief duel between Dooku and Mace on the planet Boz Pitti, which is also the first time they fought in that continuity in 19 BBY. After the Republic had engaged the CIS on the surface of the planet with multiple Jedi generals including Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Kit Fisto, and Adi Gallia against Dooku, Grievous, and an experimented on Ventress, Mace Windu, one of the warriors there, would ambush Dooku after he left a medical facility. The two ended up battling to a standstill until some Magna Guards of the Count grabbed and threw Mace into a pit. This could give off the impression of Mace being stronger, with Dooku needing his guards to help, similar to another fight from the Clone Wars. Another instance of these two battling was in the graphic novel series Son of Dathomir about Darth Maul, wherein specifically the third issue we see a group of Jedi, Mace, Obi-Wan, Tiplee, and Aayla Secura attempt to stop Dooku and Darth Maul, who happen to be working together here before Dooku would end up stabbing and killing Master Tiplee and then fleeing. So in both of these cases, their confrontations were very brief, with us technically not even seeing their blades touch in the latter, but it's safe to say that these add to the evidence that these two were evenly matched fighters overall. Also in Star Wars Adventures number 10 from 2021, we see Dooku with a slightly longer duel with him, which annoyingly enough results in Dooku running away again. Now let's go in and analyze Dooku, going over his biggest strengths and weaknesses and what made him terrifying yet elegant in battle. While Count Dooku, also known as Darth Tyrannus, was in his prime, known as the best swordsman of the galaxy with only Yoda being superior and Mace being equal, I think it's safe to say that he makes up for his age completely now by the addition of a more unorthodox Sith training, which leads to an overall masterful dueling skill even at an advanced age of 80, which is how old he is in Attack of the Clones. Also, Makashi, the form he used, was designed specifically for lightsaber to lightsaber combat, and he was noted as mastering it, being the best practitioner of Form 2 ever, especially with his curved lightsaber hilt. Dooku was a beast when it comes to telekinesis and performed great feats like throwing pieces of the Geonosian layer at Yoda and also force choking the pirate Turk Falso while also making him shoot their friend down, an ability he repeated with Padme and Beck Lawise later on in the Clone Wars. He could even use telekinesis and force lightning in conjunction, which made him especially deadly, and on that note, other than Palpatine, Dooku was basically the only Force user of this era to use Force Lightning itself, period, ignoring cases like Plo Koon and his usage of Force Judgment. Mace, on the other hand, was one of the two Jedi to, without falling to the dark side, use Form 7, known as Juyo or Vapad, the latter of which he created as a unique form to channel the dark side energy of his opponents. Mace immensely was skilled at deflecting blaster bolts, similar to Master Kenobi, which he used throughout the Clone Wars quite often. And while that is a skill that doesn't have as much bearing here, his ability to deflect Force Lightning and redirect it back in a superconducting loop is something that we should definitely look at, and we will look at here in a second. Windu was also proficient in hand-to-hand combat, as well as other abilities in the Force like battle meditation, enhanced speed, and jumping abilities. Oh, and also mind control as well, as we see against me in the Clone Wars. Also, looking over to Legends, Windu could use the ability of Force Crush, which was one of the darkest out there, but he mastered it as Mace had dedicated his life to conjuring the darkest abilities to serve the light side without giving in to hate. He also, at the Battle of Dantooine, punched through an army of super battle droids without much difficulty, to be honest. Also, these two guys were played by the legends of Sir Christopher Lee and Samuel L. Jackson, so that's definitely worth noting as two of the best actors to ever appear in Star Wars. Now, before I go over how I believe the actual fights would go, we have to look over some basic factors like which abilities would counter which, and the basics of how a confrontation between the two could end. First thing worth noting is Mace Windu's Shatterpoint ability, which is best explained by a quote from him here.
I sometimes can see the weak places in an opponent, shatter points where the unbreakable can be broken. They can occur in individuals and in events.
This can be physical, like when he saved the clone gunner here by shattering the AT-TE glass, or in battle situations, like when he mistakenly sensed the trust of Sidious until it was far too late, and it stated that he actually felt a shatter point with Dooku, feeling him to be the cause of the Clone Wars, but his attachment to the former Jedi held him back. However, with this fight, we'd actually see him move past his attachments to deal with the Sith. Now, the biggest factor I'd like to address is how Windu used his Vapod lightsaber form to defeat Darth Sidious by basically countering all of his dark side moves with great care. So if Darth Sidious is way more powerful than Dooku by a quite noticeable level, I might add, then shouldn't Dooku stand no chance? Well, my logic is that it comes down to two things. One, since Tyrannus is the best duelist in the galaxy, it's very well possible that this could be enough to give Windu's Vapod skills a challenge, and two, in regards to the lightsaber form of Dooku, keep in mind that he uses Form 2 Makashi, which is not inherently Sith by any means, leading me to believe that Vapod would be less effective here. On the flip side though, I do feel like Windu would have the advantage of rendering Dooku's lightning useless. Not only could he deflect it with his lightsaber, but I believe Mace could, if necessary, block the Force lightning of Tyrannus with his bare hands, similar to Yoda. Now if Palpatine shot Force lightning at Mace and he tried to block it with his hands, he'd be pulverized and deformed before long, but since Dooku's is less powerful, this makes sense, at least if you ask me. Dooku watches as his 3 prisoners, 2 Jedi and 1 royal senator, are surrounded by battle droids on all sides, but sensing a disturbance, Dooku looks up. Before he can react, however, a purple blade ignites near his throat. Seeing first Master Windu, and then over 100 other Jedi throughout the stands of the arena join in, starting a charge against the overwhelming droid forces. With these additional members starting a charge against the overwhelming droid forces, while Mace stands there with Dooku. Now, the Count would, however, simply levitates Mace into the ceiling of the arch, which Mace bounces off of, collapsing to the stairs below. Dooku then leaps down, and the two engage in a fierce duel, going deeper and deeper into the arena, foundations, and then catacombs themselves. As the masterful Form 2 of Dooku overwhelms Mace, he does his best to keep up, countering any unorthodox methods when he can. However, seeing that Mace's speciality is opposing his dark side moves, Dooku, with his expert mind, switches over to an entirely Jedi style of fighting, pushing the two onto a rocky outcrop overlooking some of the Battle of Geonosis. After a series of spins and elegant thrusts, Dooku would get Mace to a point of exhaustion until Mace grabs Dooku's arm and crushes it, making his lightsaber fall out of his hand. Then he pulls Dooku to him to send a finishing jab to the neck with enhanced speed, but Dooku's lightsaber levitates up, disarming the Jedi, who looks down in shock. Dooku would then raise his lightsaber blade for the killing slice.
I'm sorry, old friend.
Then, he brings the sword down, slicing through Mace Windu's chest. So in the end, while Mace would easily beat someone like Darth Maul, who uses a Sith lightsaber form, I believe Dooku, with his Makashi lightsaber style and intelligence, would be just the right combination to best him, meaning Count Dooku wins. But anyway, that's it for this video. Let me know if you want to see more of these sort of versus scenarios. I thought this was a really good one with Mace Windu and Dooku here. Let me know if Darth Maul versus Kit Fisto sounds like a good one for the next one. Also, stay tuned for the spring merch drop coming in early April, because that's going to be pretty cool, and we're going to have a bunch of new hats and stuff like that. Also, if you become a member, you can request me to do any what if whatsoever, and you'll get an exclusive members only what if for you. Literally, I'll do anything you ask for as long as it's Star Wars and relatively family friendly. But yeah, see ya.